A great evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am leading book club, coming to you live with all the book club members here. I am leading book club. Thank you. I can see you, Mercy. I can see you, Mercy Kinoti, Mercy Micah. I can see you, Eunice, Naomi. It's great to have you this evening, all the way from Malawi, and Kirika, Sarah Wayaki, Professor Joyce, Muthoni, Judy, our speaker Dua, Jackie, Seven. Oh my goodness, I can see Zion Publishers, Mr. Duso. Thank you so much for joining us. Grace, Karibuni Sana. And to inform the book club members that we are already here and we are waiting for them to join us. So feel welcome all our visitors, if any, Karibuni Sana. Thank you so much for joining us. I am leading book club powered by Blue Waters Coaching. We are here to discuss one of our books that we read this season. A season starts for 3 months. It's there for 3 months. So we have been there for 3 months. We have read 3 awesome books, and the last book is what we are discussing this evening. So I am so happy to welcome you. Feel at home and welcome. Allow me to share my slides so that we start. Feel welcome. Tell us where you are joining us from in the chat. Let us utilize the chat and let us know where you are joining us from. Karibu sana Alberta. Great. Yes, so today we are having one interesting topic that is leading boldly with courage, influence, and impact. And this is an interesting topic after reading the book She Leads, which is a collection of stories from women leaders. And in this particular volume that we are going to discuss is made up of coaches, mentors, and trainers. So we are going to dive right in and to know the stories. And allow me to introduce season 15 of the I'm Leading Book Club. This is the current season that we have been in, and this is a mastermind of women leaders who love reading together. Why would you want to join us? Join us if you want to move from reading to leading, because we don't just read, we lead after reading, because we implement the lessons that we have read from the book. We don't just read, we study. And you are going to get this from our speakers this evening, who are members of the book club, who have been reading the book, She Leads, Volume 4, and are here to share with us their insights. So if you are ready to take charge of your personal growth and well-being, then the I Am Leading Book Club is a dynamic community of women who are dedicated to self-improvement and mutual support. So welcome. We are here because of season 15, a mastermind of women leaders who read together. And today we are going to discuss a beautiful book, volume 4 of the She Leads series. And this book was launched in February. You can see the authors of the various chapters in the book. We had Elizabeth Wasuna, Alima, Emma, Vanessa, Marianne, Winnie, Kuda Ruth, Joanne, myself, Lois, Hannah, Wiz, Dua, Sonali, Susan, and Dr. Caroline Monene. Those are the authors and the chapters we have been reading are their stories. One of the most interesting chapters is chapter 13, And that introduces us to our topic this evening, leading boldly with influence and impact. Because chapter 13 by one of the ladies, Susan Omedi, talks about women in the workplace and how disadvantaged they are. And that makes us now this evening to have a conversation that will talk about leading boldly, because the way the scenario is, you have to lead boldly. There's no other way. You have to lead with courage. You just have to come out of your comfort zone and lead with courage. And that's how you influence and impact others to move forward. The passion Susan seems to talk about is, where is the woman? Where is the woman in all this? At the workplace, in the marketplace, where is the woman? And this woman is underrepresented and suffers gender disparity. This woman we are talking about is not represented well, even in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You'll realize from the stories that you are going to hear today that this woman is also discriminated. And this comes close home to me. When my daughter was, and when she got her letter to join college, just recently, she was called to do a degree in electronic and electrical engineering. And guess what? The first thing anyone would hear is, will you make it? What? That course is something. Are you going to make it? Are you sure you're going to survive through this? So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that this story is deep within our society. It's a story that the woman, before she steps even out of her house, before that young girl even joins or is at the campus, university, she already is afraid. She fears. So what are we going to do about this? Are we just going to keep quiet? That is the question. After the launch of the She Leads book, I had coffee conversations with several of the book club members who bought the book. And just like Susan says, I realized that the woman leader comes in different phases, is actually a multi-faceted woman leader. As we read in the book, you realize that everything affects us, whether it's the social life, the economic life, the cultural, the educational, the age, our abilities, our spirituality, the family status, and upbringing. I will share with you ladies that I had coffee conversations with. And one of them is our speaker this evening. And this is just to allow you to see the different faces that we are dealing with, whether it's at the marketplace or the workplace. They all come in as a package. Look at Mumbi, our speaker today. She's an advocate of the High Court. She has shared with me her struggles. She has shared with me what it has taken for her to survive in the workplace. It was not easy. She will tell us because she's one of our speakers this evening. All these are women leaders, each coming with their own bag. Their ages are different, as you can see here, and we are all at the workplace together. Some, like Professor Joyce, are at the highest level of academia. You can see there. We can see Mercy, a business coach, who is with us this evening, younger than Professor Joyce, of course, maybe even a daughter. Those are the things we are talking about. We don't just look at the woman as a woman. Let's look at the woman as a whole decorated tree. Look at this. We have a CEO here, Nancy. We have Berlin here, who is working as an accountant. We have Mary here, who works in the insurance. Different things, yet we all come and find ourselves at the same space in the workplace, in the marketplace. Are we going to do things the way we have always done? How do we meet the needs of these individuals called women, but now we are addressing a woman? This is a particular woman. All these women, others are married, others are not. But we all gather at the workplace. Look at this, leading with courage, leading with boldness. These are the ladies we are talking about. International, we have Tapiwa here, born in Zimbabwe, lived in South Africa, now living in Kenya. Different dynamics, but we are all here at the same workplace, in the marketplace together. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wow, look at this diversity that we find at the workplace. So the question is, how did they make it? What is the story behind their success? What has been holding them before and where are they today? It has been amazing having these bold conversations with these women. It is a story that we want all to listen to. Because when an empowered woman speaks, then we all get empowered. Look at this, diversity, inclusivity, and that's what leads to influence. Amazing, amazing women who are leading with courage, who are living boldly. And look at their smiles. Look at their shapes. It's all one package, but we are addressing one particular woman. And this has been the She Leads conversations. Look at that. Amazing. Amazing women who have been able to navigate all odds and are now standing up and saying, I need to be included in this agenda. So that is the multifaceted woman leader. If you'd ask me, all these ladies, different in age, different education levels, their backgrounds different, how they have been cultured, how they've been brought up, their upbringing, their family status, right where they have come from, where they are now is different. Their abilities, different. Their economic status, different. That is the woman leader we have in the marketplace and at the workplace. And that's what Susan in chapter 13 calls about the intersection, where now, if we are to address these issues, where do we start? Because that woman comes with all that together. All that together, where do we start? And that is the conversation we are going to have today. Susan calls it shatter the invisible door. Because you realize those bolts, she actually talks about 3 bolts that really increase this invisible door to the women. Right start from birth, as you are nurtured as a woman, the first thing is to take care of your children, take care of the elderly. It is seen as the woman's role. Right there and then, your path seems to have been shaped. This is how it is done. You are to take care of the children, take care of the family, take care of everything that is called family. You can never go out. Susan talks about the idea of transportation. And it is seen as the woman leaves the home and goes somewhere else, then, and that is the truth anyway, because of your biology as a woman, that is, you are prone to that sexual harassment. You are prone to be abused. So it is not enough to stay there and to say, now we have been empowered. We need now to start addressing the challenges that we face at the workplace. And I wonder, as we start this evening, what are the challenges you as a woman now, you yourself, the ones who are here as women, what have you been facing at the workplace? What have you been facing at the marketplace? Just pause and think about those challenges. As we have this discussion this evening, we are going to realize that the challenges will be there. But for you to succeed, you must step up and lead boldly. You must step up and lead with courage, because that is the only way that you're going to influence and impact the generations that have come. When I share the story with my daughter of how I have navigated my own journey to come out and blossom, she will also now gather the strength within her. And when she's challenged by the peers, oh, you're doing this, will you make it? She will step up boldly and say, yes, I can, because that is who we have nurtured her to be. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back, and let us have this empowering conversation. Susan talks about harnessing the power then, because we can't keep quiet. And I resonate with Susan because she is an HR manager, or she's in HR management, and that is my career. What are we going to do about the systems we have at the workplace? Are they supporting women? Because we have seen the package they come in. What about our methods of attraction and recruitment of staff? What are we doing? And I love what the government says, affirmative action. What about in performance management? How are we going to give those rewards? Here we have a lady who was expectant, and at the same space with a gentleman. How do we look at those scenarios? What about in learning and development? I remember one time being sent to go for a training in Mombasa from Nairobi. And I had a young child, and I had to carry my child with me everywhere to the airport. Somebody else would not have spent that money. I had to go with my house girl to go and help me. Those are the things we are talking about. How do we handle this? How do we harness that power and now make a change? What about our policies and procedures? What about our working environment? And I love the way organizations now are coming with ideas like a crèche. Yes, because we need to look at those things. And that talks about gender mainstreaming, our wellness programs, our medical schemes. And as we talk about wellness programs, you remember in the Woman of Excellence platform, I asked you, when is the last time you went for a well woman's check? Let's mentor our young ones. Let's encourage them into STEM careers, because yes, we can, and we are here to shine. So thank you so much. I want to introduce our first speaker this evening. Welcome all. I can see we are joining on. Kindly also inform others who are not here to join us. And we are going to first speaker will be Maxi Mike. I hope, Maxi, you are in the house.
Yes, I'm in the house.
All right, let me introduce you, Maxi. Karibuni sana, those who are joining us. Oh no, going back. Huh? All right, here you are. So Mercy Micah is our first speaker this evening. Mercy tells me she's a born-again Christian and she loves her Lord. She is a believing wife and a happy mother of 3 girls and 1 boy. Mercy has a story and she will tell us she works at Strathmore University as a climate change associate. She is a passionate cook and a gospel artist. She enjoys creativity in science, culinary arts, and music. Her mission is to create and implement projects that will lead to climate change resilience and sustainability. Composing, recording, and distributing inspiring gospel music. To create unique and healthy recipes for her blog in the future. Mercy tells me her vision is to transform and impact the current and next generations with her creativity in all areas that she works in. Mercy, welcome and take it away.
Hello, Coach. I don't know if you could access your email. I've just sent you one of the latest version of my presentation. Then you could share the screen. Is it possible?
A different one? A different one from what you had sent?
Yes, a different one. Yes.
Woo. Okay. All right. Are you able to share? I allow you to share?
Yes, if you can.
Yes, I've allowed you to share. Kindly go ahead.
Okay, just a minute.
Welcome, ladies. I'm so happy to see you, members of Women of Excellence, members of the book club, our guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, good evening, ladies, and if there's any gentlemen in the house, thank you so much, Coach Lois, for the warm welcome. We feel very nice being here, and I'm so privileged today to be reviewing the chapters that I was able to pick very fast. I remember when Coach shared this in the group, I was like, I have to pick this very fast, and I'm privileged to be sharing chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 10. So chapter 3 here, we'll be talking about mastering the art of storytelling by Coach Hannah Githuki. And then chapter 4, she inspires, influences by our very own Coach Lois Muteti. And then chapter 10, Navigating Crisis by Elena Nur Mohammed. Okay, so just something brief about me. I'm a climate change associate currently.
Mercy, I can't hear you. Sorry for that. I think there's a problem with her network. Coming back soon. Meanwhile, maybe we can share the challenges in the chat, challenges you've been facing as a woman leader. Keep them flowing in the chat box.
Hello, Coach.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to the connection.
Sorry, it happens. That's why we are leading boldly.
Yes. I'm so sorry. Where did you lose me?
There.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry about that. I hope the internet will be stable until we end the presentation. So are we together?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll keep on asking, are we together? Just
Are you there, Mercy?
yes, yes, yes. I'm so sorry. I've lost you again. But are we here? Can you see my
Yes.
screen? Okay.
Yes.
Now we are good to go. Sorry about that. So, and sorry, a brief summary about me, climate change associate, currently working at Strathmore University. I still practice gospel, gospel artist. I'm a passionate home cook and a recipe editor, as well as a mom. So as I had said before, I'll be reviewing these 3 chapters from the book that has been introduced by Coach. She leads, and I picked chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 10. So I decided to own the story and tell it in a way that is, how can I say, authentic. So I rearranged the topics. So you can find that I decided to start with navigating crisis. So this is the first one that I wanted to share. It is by Alena Nur Mohammed. So the first thing here is that I wanted to look at is that a crisis is a time of intense difficulty. And if we do not navigate well, we can sink into it. So I find the author was sharing with us about her experience, losing her dad and how painful it was. And this resonates with me because I've been through a crisis and I had to navigate, like in a certain way so that I do not sink through it. So how is the best way to do here, the author talks about confronting the crisis is by getting a support system. You confront the loss head on, process the emotion, and get the support that is needed. Because if you're not able to confront this, as we've said here previously, you can sink into it. So here, it's very important to get that support system. And for me, the support system that I got here was the book club. Because since I joined in 2022, we read so many books, we've gone through so many programs with Coach, and I assure you that was able to enable me to process every emotion that I was going through. And then here she talks about being vulnerable, vulnerability as a strength. I learned how to be vulnerable in this club. I hope we're together, everyone, Coach.
Yes.
Very good, yes. So I learned to be vulnerable here in this club. At first, we come from a society where you want to hide your story, you're ashamed of how people will perceive you, But here, when we permit ourselves to be vulnerable during the time of crisis, you are actually, like you're showing how authentic you are, and you're able to navigate through the crisis even in a better way. And then here the author also talks about resilience. Resilience being the ability to bounce back and adapt, and being able to stay composed under pressure. And here we learn from our setbacks. You see, many times you'd find like leaders, you go through something, or even whoever you are, you can go through something. But let me tell you, the ability to bounce back and see, I am still alive, a lot has remained, and I'm going to focus with what I have and grow. And I really want to I'm grateful for the programs that we went through with Coach, the Abundant Woman. She's the leadership, the one about leadership. I mean, this, and also repositioning that we did at the end of every year. This really helped me to become resilient and bounce back and be able to adapt. So finally, we see that life is like an ocean. You see, in an ocean, sometimes it's so still. There are days which are calm, and then all of a sudden a storm just erupts. And if you panic as a leader, and you know, every woman is actually in a position of leadership. Let's say if you're a mom, or let's say you're in the office. So if you panic, then the entire crew will panic. So you have to be strong and keep the composure and the smile on your face. So that is why it is good to know that life will always present itself with storms. But if you are able to navigate through this crisis, then you will stand strong and be able to, you know, be composed. So this is what I got from this chapter, and that's why I picked that topic. It was very captivating and very relatable. And then, all moving together, I believe I loved this chapter, The Master of Storytelling by Coach Hannah Githuki. Now here, the art of storytelling converges the power of personal branding, and it has the impact, it has a profound impact. And, you know, through this, you're able to forge authentic connections. I really love, when I was growing up, I really loved being told stories. I remember telling my grandmother, please tell me the story about this and this. And any grown up I would meet, I would be like, please share with me this story. And I didn't know that that is a way, that storytelling is a way of connecting to people's hearts. You know, when it's crafted with care, your story has a potential to move and inspire others, just like ripples in a pond. You know, in fact, a way of which you can remember something and go through something, it's through stories. Ever since we were small, we've been told fairy tales, we've been told folk tales, we've been told Bible stories. And as we read, even for me, the books that we've read, I can resonate with people's stories. So and we go back to what we went through in the previous slide, we talked about vulnerability as a strength, you know? So when we permit ourselves to be fully vulnerable in a time of crisis, we often, you know, we show up to be authentic, like we become very, very authentic. So as just like the other slide that we went through, sometimes you might be like, what are people going to say, you know? But I learned there is so much strength in this. And actually the author says, you don't worry about how they are going to deal with the story. For you, you're being authentic, and you know what sharing has done to you. So I even read in another book where the author was saying, never tell a story without making a point, and never make a point without telling a story. And storytelling cuts across every industry, be it science, be it technology, be it agriculture, be it human resource. There's always a story that you can tell. So here the author was telling us that as you go to tell, as you talk about something, have a structured narrative, a clear beginning, middle, and end, and keep your stories concise and make sure that your message is memorable. So authenticity, you know, there's no need of telling stories which are not real. You see, but if someone hears that, really, is that what Mercy goes through, or what she went through, and she was able to navigate through? Wow, look at the stories that Coach has shared in her book, really personal. You know, that actually, it embodies the essence of why you do what you do. You see, what motivates you. So that really has been an inspiration. And that's why I loved this chapter. And the Coach Hannah is a very good writer. If you love reading, you will love her vocabulary and her choice of words. So if you're a guest here and you've never read this book, please visit this chapter so that you can see how she has mastered the art of storytelling herself. So we can move to the next slide. Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Thank you so much. Now we go to this this chapter. And here I felt that once you've navigated through your crisis, then you have a story. You will be able to inspire and influence. So as Coach began her chapter, she said, in every woman's heart, there's a leadership potential. She said, whether you're a homemaker, a student, a businesswoman, or a professional. So you find that what I like about Coach and her style is that no one is left behind. No one is left behind. You cannot hide behind the class and say, I'm not going to be seen. No, you have to be accountable for your actions. Those in the book club, even if you don't show up, after some time, you see like 300 messages on your Telegram and you're like, hey, like you just have to show up. And she goes to the next area that really also touched my heart, the 5 C's that influence leadership styles. And one area that she mentioned about is competence. And this really resonates with me. After going back to work after 10 years, I knew that I have to build my competence in my area of science. And that inspired me to enroll in an MSc, which I'll be starting in September, God willing. And then also to be committed. You see, being committed, even becoming a 5 a.m. Club member, it's not easy. Most of the time you'd find you're inconsistent, and personally, I really had a challenge with inconsistency. But right now, I'm so happy that I'm able to stick to the program, carry out my VH, and it's really helped me to center and to stay committed to my vision, my goals, and my dreams that I set because I joined the club. Before then, I was a driftwood. I had goals, but they were in my head. I'd never written them on paper. Thanks to the books that we read, if you don't write it, it will just go like that. So you must put your vision on paper. We have vision boards, and every day we see these visions coming to pass. So I'm so grateful because that has helped me to be committed. Courage. Look at the courage that Coach had to share her story. And it resonates with me, the courage to go back to the workplace. And people are like, what? 10 years? And I'm like, yes, I'm here. I feel I'm ready to serve my country, ready to serve my society. And then talk about compassion as well, being able to feel for the people in the society, everyone who's gone through a challenge. And right now, actually, what I've come to realize, once you've ever gone through a crisis, you will treat broken people in a very different from a different perspective, because you know what they've been able to rise above. And as I was saying, okay, consistency, I'd also mentioned it to commitment. When I was talking about commitment, it's very, very important for us to be consistent. Otherwise, this lack of consistency has killed so many dreams, you see, and it's just those daily habits, just that 1 hour that you take to read or to work out, or that is what makes you achieve your goals eventually. So here we talk about a purpose-driven life, a life fueled with purpose. It serves as a potent wellspring of inspiration. I tell you, ladies and everyone in the house, I was one person that just drifted, and the river would go this way, I would go, but when I joined the book club, Coach guided us into setting goals, and she would look at those goals. It's like, let them be smart, and she would call, how far are you? And we would do presentations at the end of every program and have classes at 5 a.m., and this really made me to have a purpose-driven life. So start with what you have, We have this abundant mindset. We had this mindset of, I cannot have this. That is just for other people. I tell you, like even right now, the economy and the state that we are in right now, as a Kenyan, it's so automatic to complain. But when you have an abundant mindset, you're like, I am able to rise above that. I am able to earn more. I am able to get more. I do not fear, because your vibration is different. So you'll find you'll not be in those negative conversations. So you do not have to start great, but you have to start to be great. And then later on, if you look at her chapter, she's talking about failing forward. This is one book that we read, and it is amazing. A story, as we said, a story here about Mary Kay really stands out. This lady faced considerable rejection, but she had the right attitude, and that was a game changer. So if you're able to rise above rejection, You know, rejection has made so many people to be depressed, so many people to live underprivileged, you see, or any crisis, any obstacle. We saw like Coach in her story, she became sick. She has a dad who has this disease, you know, but she's able to always show up. There's no time she'll give us excuses. Hey guys, this month I'm not showing up, you see? So that is really like fail forward. It doesn't matter what has happened, fail forward, dust and move on. So we'll move to the next sentence. And my presentation was as short as that because I know I have just 10 minutes. And I just wanted you to have a look at this and we can interact in the chat. You know, it's just about storytelling and being keen about what is in your life. So you can share in the chat and see how many F's do we have in the sentence. So I want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Coach Lois and other authors that I'm honored to review their chapters. I'm looking forward to a wonderful evening of interacting with women who lead purpose-driven lives. So thank you. Thank you for holding on even when the network tried to bring its issues, but we are here. And have a wonderful evening. I'm right here to continue with the next of the next presentations. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mercy Micah, for that amazing presentation of the chapters that resonated with you. Thank you for that great articulation. Kindly, ladies and gentlemen, kindly give Mercy Micah a thumbs up in the chat. Congratulate her for reading and implementing the reading, internalizing the reading, and also presenting to us. You may stop sharing, Mercy.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mercy Micah making an awesome presentation to us. And we have learned a lot of things. We are on the theme, leading boldly, leading with courage, leading to inspire, leading to impact. And she talked about vulnerability. She talked about being authentic. She talked about leading with courage, failing forward and bouncing back. Those are some of the takeaways that Mercy took about resilience. Thank you so much. Our next speaker then is Jacqueline. Jacqueline, are you in the house? Jacqueline?
Yes, Coach, I'm in the house.
Okay, so allow me to introduce you. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Jackie Atieno, a dynamic leader fueled by faith and compassion. She's a devoted mother of two, and Jackie's life is a testament to the transformative power of God's mercies and grace. Rooted in her service with the RCCG ministry, she seamlessly blends her spiritual calling with her professional endeavors. Jackie is not just a leader, but an expert in HR, driving impactful change in the NGO sector. But her influence, she tells me, extends far beyond the boardroom. With a heart dedicated to mentoring the youth and empowering women, Jackie sees every interaction as an opportunity to sow seeds of inspiration and growth. Her mantra in life reflects her unwavering belief in the power of positivity and action. And whether tending to her farm or championing environmental causes, Jackie's ethos remains the same. Focus on the positives that enrich both yourself and others. For Jackie, leadership is not just about a title, it's a call to action. She understands that true leadership is measured not by words alone, but by the tangible impact of one's deeds. And Jackie is forever grateful to God for the extensive opportunities and experiences that inspire her daily. Jackie Atieno, take it away. Welcome.
Thank you, Coach. I will share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Try to put it in presentation mode. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Thank you, Coach. I don't think I would want to add anything to the introduction. I'll want to quickly just share my journey of meeting me. And I think from the presentation and from the book, Optimizing Leadership Through Strategic Training, Coaching and Mentorship, there are quite a lot of things that have really resonated with my experience. So I'll be looking at 4 chapters, chapter 2, Optimizing Leadership Impact with, creating strategic life balance by Vanessa Akumi. And then I'll also look at the power of self-beliefs by Cass Kosa. I couldn't pronounce that correctly, but yeah, I don't want to murder the name. Yeah, and then I'll also look at, Winnie Sigay sharing her experience in terms of, coaching and how you can optimize on coaching. And then also on Wiz Bonanno on heroes and the sidekicks. Yeah, so Coach, for me, I just want to, talk about some of the things that really reflect and resonate so much with my journey as an HR leader in the humanitarian sector. I grew up with a very authoritative father, and for many years I had this, feeling that I'm not enough. In as much as I'd gone to many places, I'd applied jobs internationally, and, I would really get, interviewed, get the jobs. But for some reason, there was just a feeling that I'm not enough. So in 2019, after leaving South Sudan, where I'd served for about 7 years, I went to Afghanistan, and that is where I found myself. I had quite a lot of reflections. When you are in the field, you have so much time in your hands. And I would use those moments to ask myself, who am I? Who do I want to be? And how can I get there? Why do I behave the way I behave? There are times when I'll just lose confidence. In as much as from an expertise perspective, I will really blow my own trumpet and say I'm really good in HR. So I started looking at how then do I use my experiences to, to really consolidate them, but impact in a broader scale. I joined an organization where we didn't have a women leader in the leadership team, and I influenced that and said, look here, I think we need to have women leaders into the organization. We had quite a number of ladies who would look at me, you are actually the only African woman in a population of about 3,000 people. And they would ask, how did you even get to Afghanistan? Did your husband get you to, allow you to leave, because of the, the patriarchal society that is really strong in Afghanistan? They couldn't understand how a woman would just leave. So I used that opportunity to say, I want to really speak from my heart on some of my experiences and help these ladies really see where I've come from and how they can actually use that experience to, to move from where they are and just, grow their self-confidence, but really believe in themselves that, they can do a lot more than what they had in Afghanistan. Yeah, so really asking those questions and really having moments of reflection really were some of the touch points that I resonate with many of the things that we talk about in chapter 7. Yeah, and also just, using that power of, my voice, because now I had found my voice. I realized that I needed to forget about my authoritative father. I needed to forget about I am not enough. I needed to look at what I'd done and use that as my sounding board and my launch pad to getting to more things that I needed to do. So, and because of that, I was able to talk to a number of women in Afghanistan. And I can tell you, out of the women I talked to, 12 actually are either in scholarships out of the country. Some of them actually got jobs and relocated after Taliban came into power in 2021. And I look back with a lot of not just courage, but also pride, because then, my resilience grew through that. Yeah, so some of the photos here are from Afghanistan that, it was really a moment of extremes for me, where I would go into the gym to exercise. But when you get out there are times when, you couldn't go even 10 meters from where you are because of the bombing. When you find time to go out there, you would go into, there Biashara Street and find things that you never seen in this world, out of this world. Like they had very good, leather products. They had very good, they had very good artifacts. They had very good carpets. So, it made me realize that life is a totality. And part of the reason that I really grew was to look at an integrated approach to my life. How do I integrate my desire to be a better leader with some of the, the things that would really enhance that? And for example, the physical exercise, I joined a taekwondo club, the mental in terms of just building, living in the present, trying to connect with my emotions, nourishing my, my garden to just make sure that I'm able to connect to deep down into my soul. And also as I do this, looking at how best do I surrender, because I also realized as a Christian, God tells me that he has good plans for me, plans for welfare, not for evil, to give me a future and a hope. So how do I surrender to the sovereign power of God? How do I grow my spirituality? I remember we had a very nice garden in Afghanistan, and many times I would spend my time in that garden to kind of just connect. But even as I did this, I realized that I was among maybe the top 10,000 women in the world who were so gifted to, to be working outside home, but also to influence women in Afghanistan who had never seen another side of life other than just being a wife, being guarded and followed everywhere as, by your husband, because there's a fear that, something could happen to you, or you'd go and see, Yeah, so as I went through this journey, I actually realized that there was quite a lot that I could unlock, my potentials, my passions. I could unlock, a better Jackie in terms of my performance and progress, not just in my profession, but also in my personal life. And, just thinking about Liverpool Football Club, and sorry for the football lovers in the room, but honestly, I relate so much with Liverpool, because you'll never walk alone. I know it's not been performing very well, so I don't want also to make you feel bad about their performance. But really, their logo makes me reflect a lot, that and especially from a coaching perspective. Yeah, so when I had gone through that thinking and just unlocking my ditching my self-limiting beliefs and looking at the potentials that I had in terms of building a gender unit, looking at working on a gender policy, but also influencing leaders to bring on board leaders, women leaders into the leadership team. I actually now tapped into coaching. And for me, coaching just surfaced my limiting beliefs. I remember at one point the coach asking me, so I told him, I grew up with an authoritative father. And he said, so what? That shouldn't define you, And it helped me meet myself, really asking those pertinent questions. Why am I doing this? And how can I do it better? And then really enabling me see my lenses from a worldview. I know we all have different lenses, but really a coach helped me to see my lenses from a really totally different view. And then, from that conversation and, the empowering conversations with the coach, I was able to emerge with the answers from the inside. For me as a leader, and we'll all agree that as a leader, there are moments when you feel vulnerable. But for me, a coach has given me that psychological safety. I'm able to sit with a coach, including Coach Lois, and just speak about, some of my fears. And many of the lessons that I've had, especially between 2020 and now, I actually go back to reflect on them. It goes beyond the coaching period. In about 4 years, I've had 3 coaches, but it goes beyond just the moment I had, the coaching experience, maybe of 6 months, of 1 year, of 3 years. Because, what the coach really helped me was not just to look at how best do I become, but really helping me to create that environment that will make me grow. So really not pulling up the flowers, but helping me to accelerate that growth through making the right environment for myself. I also reflect on the last chapter, which I was looking at, which is on chapter 12. And for me, it's all about being your own hero. The author talks about her reflections on some of the heroes in her life, talks about her teacher, talks about her mother. I resonate that so much with, as well, in terms of just looking back, Madam Nora, my nursery teacher, my mom, who really struggled, and she would tell me, hakuna marefu yasiyo na mwisho. And I look back and I'm like, how can I not tap into some of these experiences and just be a better leader, be that empathetic leader, be that transformative leader at my workplace, but also be a leader in my house? How can my girls, and my son look at some of the achievements that I've made and say, yes, mom is a hero, and we are going to tap into some of the things she's done to also just make a better life for ourselves. So as I conclude, I reflect a lot as a leader. As mentioned, there are times when you can have moments where you reflect, but you don't have that space to just air out that, some of your thoughts. And how do you lead boldly as a leader? And my reflections have taken me to the power in our hands. From a biblical perspective, grace, our fingers are 5 for each hand, and they represent grace. And for me, grace is the unmerited favor. Like God giving me opportunities to see the world in a different way, to look at women in a different way, but also to be a woman who other women can use by me amplifying my voice. Other women can look back and say, look, Jackie has done this, and I think we can also follow suit and even do more than her. And for me, the act of our hands, basically from a Christian perspective, is we surrender to God, and you'll never go wrong. But they are also our tools of trade. We would use our hands to type those emails. We will use our hands to sign off those documents, to approve, to change someone's life, whether it's through a promotion, whether it's through a new contract. For me, sitting in HR, looking at stuff and just approving some of the inductions, because I also want to give people an opportunity to write their own stories at the workplace. And then also in terms of integrity, as leaders, if we were told to raise our hands, are our hands clean? I reflect quite a lot on that. And I'll tell you, from experience, I've never seen someone who would receive a bribe while raising their hands. It's always under the table or in hidden places. So as leaders, what is our reputation? What legacy do I want to leave in my organization? How do I lead boldly? With courage, without the fear that someone is pointing out an issue that I did in darkness. So can I speak authentically as a leader without thinking about, okay, someone may have seen me going through this corner? So just like Moses, who on many times when he was leading the Israelites and in the war between Israel and the Amalekites, Moses kept his hands raised. But as he did this, there are times when he got tired. And for me as a leader, I resonate that so much with the need to have a coach. When I get tired, who are the men who will come and put a stone on my hand so that I don't put my hands down? Who are those people who will help me to really help me amplify my voice and the voice of many other women because I spoke? So as I round up, what is in your hand? And just like David, can God come back and ask, are your hands clean? Can you build me a house? Can we leave a legacy that someone will look back and say, yes, it was good and it was very good. Thank you very much.
Wow, amazing, amazing, Jackie. Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. Your perspectives and your lessons, we are inspired. I truly agree with you with all that you've said, and I wonder whether our audience this evening has the same to say. Kindly share with us in the chat. Kindly thank Jackie for sharing her life with us this evening by sharing her story. Wow, what is that now, Jackie?
So, these are some of the handcrafted carpets and rugs that I actually got from Afghanistan, and they remind me so much of the power of really being authentic, but the power of really following your passion. When I went to Afghanistan, my dad asked me, which currency have you not touched? And I told him, Dad, it's not about currency. I have a passion. And I think if I have the opportunity to go and influence in Afghanistan, let me do it. And I'm sure for the women that I touched their lives, they will look back and remember Jacqueline Atieno. Thank you.
Woo! We are touched, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We'll stop sharing. Kindly appreciate Jackie in the chat. Our next speaker is Mercy Kinoti. Mercy Kinoti, are you in the house?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let me introduce you. We are moving. I can't believe time goes so fast. We have our guest speakers. They are both in the house. We have 3 speakers who will be speaking to us very soon. Yes. So our next speaker is Mercy Kinoti. Mercy Kinoti is a business coach who inspires business leaders to transform their businesses for prosperity and posterity. Wow. She says she's leading a life full of miracles and God's favor and raising 4 great children. Hey, Mercy, 4 children who will become great leaders in their fields of expertise. Wow. Mercy tells me that season 15, not 16, has been holistic transformation for her. I think she will tell us more. And she also tells me that this book, specifically volume 4, has awaited her God-given calling. Mercy Kinoti, here is your chance. Karibu.
I'm allowed to share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are. Just present it now.
Okay. I must say that season 15 has been awakening. It's I feel like I've been in slumber for a long time. Not that I have not been doing anything, but I realized that I needed this book to awaken what God has given me. I'll be presenting about 4 chapters. Chapter 6, Mastering the Language of the Mind by Joan Seurey. That name is hard. I'll be presenting on chapter 8, My Leadership Journey by Marianne Verigit Onyango. I'll be presenting about chapter 9, Embracing Courage on the Path to Success by Elizabeth Wasuna. I'll also be presenting about chapter 10, Navigating Crisis by Alima Noor Muhammad. Now, I will start by saying that it has taken courage today to present. I almost called the coach yesterday in the evening and to tell her, by the way, my voice is gone because I was speaking in whispers. But I took courage to just do meditation. I took a step of courage to tell myself that yes, I can do it. My voice will be back, and I will share my thoughts about this book. And true enough, I start with the first point. It's been a season of renewal. Why I say the renewal is because I am in transition of something, forming something bigger, creating something bigger. I thought that whatever I had achieved was it, but my boat was rocked. And now I feel like I'm an eagle facing renewal in all aspects of my life. And I'm discovering amazing potential and hidden talents. Chapter 6, the mastering the language of the mind. I will say that it's been, I remember when we began the year and she was like, you know, you need to create your vision board. And I set in my vision board that by June 2024, I will be setting up my consulting business. I didn't know what that consulting business is going to be, but I put it there. I also set it out in my leadership manifesto that I want to set up a consulting business, because for the longest time, Coach had always affirmed me and told me, you know what, Mercy, you're a business developer. You're a business developer. You are a business developer. So what happened is it was the month of April, when I just called one of my staff and I told them, you know what, you need to register this company. These two. I actually didn't know what exactly they were supposed to do, but I had the names. And over time, I jotted and jotted and jotted what this consultancy company was going to. I mean, I knew that one, I'll do business development, two, I'll do business coaching, but I'd never taken that step of action. So when I read this book and every chapter was affirming me that, yes, I'm a business coach. Yes, I need to step with courage. I need to step out there and coach business leaders to who they are supposed to be to transform their businesses. So one of the light bulb moments was actually just actualizing, just ensuring that that business is registered. The next step I took was to actually enroll to be certified as a coach, because I realized, yes, I've been coaching and I've been coaching business leaders, but I asked myself one question one day, because I had to master the language of the mind. I'd always told myself, you know, I cannot coach businesses because I'm not certified. So one day I just said, you know what? I gotta be certified for people to believe that actually I can do this job and they can have the faith and trust that I can actually do. The next thing was bouncing back from my failures, because yes, in this life, I've had a lot of failures in my businesses. Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yes, so the next thing was bouncing back from my failures because they don't define me. I've had a lot of business failures. I've set up, I was counting how many businesses I've set up. And I realized that I've set up over 10 businesses that have failed. And I kept on asking myself, the reason why I didn't have that courage to actually be a business coach is because I've failed so much in business. But when I read this chapter, I realized, you know, I need to change my mindset. The lessons I've learned out of my businesses, they are lessons that I should be able to help other business leaders not to perform the same mistake. The next thing is that I am progressing. I'm not perfect, but I'm continuously learning. I'm continuously progressing. I'm not perfect, but I will coach being imperfect so that I can actually progress. The next chapter that really inspired me was my leadership journey. This was a moment of transformation for me when I was called for an interview. I had taken a career break of over 13 years to raise children, and I was called to lead a project in 7 counties. And you can imagine, you're looking at yourself. Again, it ties to the mindset. The language that I'm telling myself, I've taken a career break. I mean, I've been out of the career world for 13 years. How am I going to be able to lead this project? One of the things that I did was to change the language, my mental language, that I can do it. I deserve this job, and I will do such an exemplary job that has never been done. And it was also to continuously follow through using this book, the leadership qualities that I needed to embody so that I could lead this project. Being the only lady, I remember in some of the meetings we used to go to the leaders meeting as we strategize for the other projects. I am just the only lady. And I had to take a step of faith and courage and tell them, you know what? My proposal is 1, 2, 3. And I'm actually thinking if we implement this strategy, it will work. At that time, while I'm saying that, I am trembling. I have fear. But at the end of it all, it turned out to be so beautiful. I had to actually walk the talk, that as I'm a leader, work with different departments, work with the staff who are serving under me, work with different communities. I remember there's one instance we went and the community was like, we don't understand English. And I had to continuously work with the consultants to actually change their language from English to Swahili so that they can be able to understand. I remember there's even one session where we had to do even in Kamba so that those people could understand what exactly we are talking about. Working with 7 county governments is not a mean feat, because you have to understand the culture of these counties. Before you reach their leaders, you must understand the cultures first. You must understand which language will actually be able to transform their mindset. Which approaches will you use to actually enable them to embrace this particular project? Now you can imagine it was spanning across the coast, the Rift Valley, all the way up to the Asal region and a bit of Central. So you can imagine an Eastern as well. So you can imagine the diverse cultures, their diverse communities. I remember one time I was doing a strategy for Isiolo County government. And I said, you know what, for the women, while the men are tending to the cows and the goats and the camels, the women can actually, as they clean their houses and take care of the babies, they can actually be able to rear the chicken. And I remember the leaders were like, wow, our community does not consume birds. And that took me aback. I was like, wow, okay, I'm learning. So I told them, no problem. If you don't consume birds, not a problem. You can always look at, okay, if their women cannot rear chicken because it's a taboo, then what we can do is, can we look at other aspects of this, of the goats? While you slaughter and sell the meat, leave the hides and skins to the women so that they can be able to do beadwork and incorporate beadwork into the leather. And that was a yes. So at that time, I had to innovate on the go so that as I understand these cultures, because the only way to understand this culture is when you go and interact with them. Not forgetting the private stakeholders, because I had to work a lot with the private sector, specifically the business association. So you can imagine you're working with the producer cooperatives, you're working with county governments, you're working with national government, you're working again with the business associations. And I had to continually tune my language, but at the same time, not forgetting that I had to be an authentic leader, I had to be a firm leader, and I had to walk the talk. That means if I'm saying you need to be consistent in implementation of the action plans, I also had to remain consistent in my strategy, in making sure that they get the capacity building that they required. Chapter 9 is all about me and my journey of life, embracing courage. Courage sometimes does not come from a point of confidence. Sometimes you can be so fearful as a woman because you're talking about innovative solutions that have never existed. I remember one time I said, these producer cooperatives, we need to put all the value chains together, meaning if a cooperative is doing dairy, can all the dairy cooperatives come together? They sell their meat together so that they can have the power of negotiation. At that particular point, everybody thought I was a mad girl because that had never been done. And actually even bringing the cooperative board members, you can imagine the kind of a mindset we have in this country about cooperatives, and specifically producer cooperatives, the poor governance, the poor structures, the poor accountability, the poor financial management, the lack of markets. It's a whole story of just, it's just a story that it has no hope. It's a story of despair. Yet I'm coming here to say, you people, you need to gather up together, get together, have the power of negotiation, improve on your standards, and they're looking at me. But I can tell you for sure, one particular county did so well until they've been the focal point in terms of my success story, in terms of my project. The courage to be authentic and real. Sometimes I had to come up with disruptive solutions. I remember one time I had worked with the procurement department, and this was a particular county. We were supposed to get the board leaders together. And the first instance, I told them, so how many people will come for the meeting? They said 25. So I told the procurement person, just book for 25 people for a conference. When I arrived that evening, I called the people who were mobilizing the board members, and they said, I think we have a figure of 75. So when I went to the hotel, I found that they had booked a meeting room for 25 people. I'd arrived at 9 p.m. And I told my team, you know what? We gotta find a conference room. By tomorrow morning, we need to have a conference room. And we've just arrived. Put your bags in the room. Let's go look for a conference room. And believe you me, we did get, after going to a town that I'd never been before, talking to the managers at after 9 p.m. And while we were doing that, we booked for 75. The morning came, and I can tell you 95 leaders appeared. And the people are like, wow, how did you pull this off? Because by the time we were sleeping, you had a boardroom. But this morning you have a conference room. It takes courage to do so. Those
Excuse me, Mercy.
Yes.
Mercy, let's move with speed.
Yes. So chapter 11 was the last one, embracing the pivot. I remember one time I was doing supplies of fresh fruits and vegetables. Then COVID happened and all the hotels and all the restaurants and all the schools had been closed. And I had to just think through, I have staff, I can afford to send them home. I still got to maintain to pay them their salaries. And I have to think, how do I continuously meet the expenses of this company? And I had to set up a milk distribution company. Get into milk distribution, an industry that I'd never gotten into, but it worked until COVID ended. Then I was able to resume to my other previous activity, business activity. I've also had to embrace pivot by adjusting schedules to raising 4 children and thriving in leading a project as the only woman leader. You can imagine transversing 7 counties while I still have got 4 children to raise, and making sure that I'm in touch with them and following up with their academic work, their mental aspects and psychological aspects and emotional aspects while I'm away, while I'm around. It's been quite a journey, but actually I've embraced that every point that I need to pivot, I'm very positive and I'm ready to adjust and adapt. These are my closing remarks, that if I have the courage to begin, then I have the courage to succeed. A crisis for me is always an opportunity for human beings to rise beyond themselves. And the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you, Mercy. That was a powerful presentation. I'm just listening to your story, and it's the stories we have been hearing every Saturday at 5 a.m. as we do the She Speaks program. So thank you so much for bringing them up. I already can see congratulations messages. Let's go ahead, ladies. Congratulate Mercy for us. She has done an awesome job. Our guest speaker, Dua Mutharika, she is next. Allow me to introduce her to us because she has to leave soon. Karibu sana. Welcome those who have been joining us. I hope Dua, you're in the house.
Okay, I am here. Yes.
All right, all right. This is an amazing lady. And I'm so glad that Dua, you accepted to be with us this evening amidst your busy schedules. Dua Mutharika is the author of the chapter Mercy has just talked about, Embrace the Pivot. She is a growth-focused and solutions-driven leader focusing on women leadership and development. She is a skilled facilitator with 6 years teaching adults essential skills. And guess what? She is an exceptional speaker, a keynote speaker and presenter. Her profile tells me that she is a mentor trainer, and a board member. She is a business owner, a consultant, a leadership and wellness coach. And we are so excited, Dua, for you accepting to be our guest speaker this evening. Karibu sana, that is what we say here in Kenya, in Kiswahili. Tell us where you are joining us from and take it away. Thanks, Dua. Karibu.
Thank you. I'm joining you all from chilly Johannesburg. I hope your weather is better there in Nairobi, because it's not very nice down here in Johannesburg. So, wow, it's been amazing seeing all of the different presentations that people have done. And normally when I have a talk, I do present a presentation as well. But what I've really noticed is that the majority of the times I'm doing that because it creates a buffer between me and the people. And it means I don't have to give too much of myself, and I don't have to be vulnerable. So today, when we're speaking about this book and about leading, I realized I didn't want to present to you. I wanted to talk to you. And I have my talking points, but I wanted really to get real and be honest about what got me to the point that I'm at right now in life. If I wrote my chapter now, it would be a very different chapter from the way it was. I was able at that time to share a little bit about myself, but I still was very nervous about letting people in. I've been burnt before. I've had tragedies. I've had loss. And so it's been much easier for me to hold people at bay than to let them in. So as I said, today it would be a much different chapter. I feel much more comfortable sharing more of me, which is why I'm speaking to you in a little bit more of a casual way than I normally do when I'm giving speeches. So let me give you a little bit about my leadership journey. And my leadership journey really starts, it is my life journey. I was born into a family of leaders. And because I was born into a family of leaders, a very strong mother, who was always out and about, up to something. She's just amazing. And then my father being, you know, an economist well known on the continent, I was the mistake baby. You know, some here in South Africa, they call that the late Lamiki. I was the child that wasn't really supposed to come. And so because of that, there was a 7-year difference between myself and the next sibling. And that meant when you keep being told you're a mistake, you know, and even if it's a joke, as families do, oh, you know, she was our surprise, or, you know, just a mistake. But you learn to not take up very much space. You learn to not draw attention to yourself. God forbid you draw attention to yourself. Because really, while everybody loves you, you are a little bit of an inconvenience. You know, you're not what anybody expected. So this was the thing running in the back of my mind, and then watching these really strong parents. My mother was the driving force between everything. If money was tight, my mother was the one to figure out a hustle. She was, I remember they used to have, at that time, Djibouti was the duty-free place before Dubai was up and running. And she would go to Djibouti, buy all, you know, because my father at that time was a diplomat, so she had the diplomatic status. She'd buy all the stuff duty-free, come back with a suitcase and sell it to the people who didn't have access to that. Take that money to the US, we'd go to fire sales. So we'd go like where stores are shutting down, and we'd also go to garage sales. And we'd buy up all this stuff, pack it up in her suitcase, and she'd sell that. And it was this constant cycle. And she'd come with wads of cash in my room and be like, hide it somewhere where your dad doesn't see it. So we learned to put it in the menstrual products box, because he never looked. He'd look everywhere else. But if he had looked in my always box, he would have seen $10,000 and given him the shot. So that was my mother. If there's a phrase to describe her, it's like, you know, let's have a plan, let's get this done. And then I saw a very male leadership style in my father. So me as a leader, God forbid, no. And the last thing I wanted to do was do anything that would put myself in the public, under the public scrutiny, where then people can say things and they say mean things, and then I cry, and then, you know, all of these type of things, or you know, it hurts my feelings. And then I have friends who are keyboard warriors on websites all hours of the night, you know, cussing people out and saying, leave our friend alone. So I made a decision when my father passed in 2012 that was it for me. I would not do anything that would ever draw attention to me. I would live a quiet life. I would live a good life. I would raise my daughter. And that's the way it was going to be. Within an hour, sorry, not an hour, within a year of my father passing away, my marriage also ended. So I resolved to be alone for the rest of my life, to be quiet, and to be in a corner. Nothing that would draw attention to me. And ironically, one of the things that I did at that time is I gained about 40 kgs, which thankfully I've now spent the last 3 years losing, but I gained 40 to 50 kgs, and this was more of my protection, to stay away. Nobody's gonna get in, nobody's gonna hurt me. I lost my dad, who was my whole world. I lost my husband, who was the love of my life. You know, I lost friends. You know, I'm not doing this anymore. And for many years that worked. For many, many years that worked, living a small, quiet mouse life. Until I started being a speaker for G4G. And one of the days that I went, actually the first time I went to do a speech with them, one of the ladies there, who's now become a friend, she said, come and get some paper, come and get a crayon and draw a depiction of who you are. So I picked up a yellow crayon, I don't know why. I started doing a circle. And then I wanted to do 8 arms and legs, because I thought of myself as a spider. And why a spider? Because spiders, you rarely see them. And I think spiders know when we see them, we freak out, so they tend to hide. But they're there in the corner, they're observing everything, and they only come down when it's safe, and then they go back up. And you know their presence a little bit because you know occasionally you run into the spider's web, so now you know there's a spider. But they don't really draw attention to themselves. And that was how I saw myself. But this day, as I was using the yellow crayon, I realized, and I started doing the little legs, I realized I was supposed to be the sun. And that meant I was supposed to shine light in dark places, be a voice for people, for the voiceless. Because I've lived a life which has had very many hardships, but it's also had unimaginable privilege. So my parents always brought us up saying, to those who have a lot, to those who are given much, you know that biblical saying, much is expected. So that's where the courage part came in. Because now I had to realize if I was going to start, I'd spent 8 or so years, 7 or 8 years living quietly here in South Africa. If I was going to put myself online, if I was going to start speaking, if I was going to start pushing myself into the forefront, it meant people from my country would know where I was. Furthermore, they would know what I was doing. And then maybe the harassment would start again. And people wouldn't like me. Because after all, I'm just a Nepo baby. I don't really bring much to the table, is what I've been told many times. You're just so-and-so's kid, so-and-so's niece, so-and-so's daughter. And for a while, I was so-and-so's wife. Yeah, so I never really, and even blessed, I don't even say this in a bad way, but even for my daughter, her name is Paida. I was Paida's mom to most people in South Africa, but I was never Dua. If I was going to be the voice for the voiceless, I was going to have to be courageous, and I was going to have to step into the front and be Dua, whatever that meant. The good, the bad, the ugly, the sad, because it was very sad. And during this time, although my husband and I were divorced and separated, I had married for life. He did pass away last year. And I really realized that being bold doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't afraid, because my knees knock a lot when I'm getting ready to do stuff. But being bold and being courageous means that you do it anyways. You do it afraid. You mess up. You know? I was talking to a young lady about giving, you know, what's the best way when you're doing speeches and whatever. And she says, but what if I mess up? And I was like, if? When? You're going to mess up. It's what we do. We're humans. Nobody's perfect. I said, laugh it off. Make a joke out of it. When I'm about to give a speech and I start to stumble over my words, I'll stop and say, whoop, my English bundle is almost over. And then we all laugh, you know what I mean? And I get a minute to breathe in, take control of the situation, and then I start again, you know? So part of leading boldly is realizing that you will make mistakes and that's okay. I spent a lot of time beating myself up over my mistakes, beating myself up over divorce, beating myself up over my newspaper closing down. There were so many things where I just didn't feel I lived up to even my family name. And I beat myself up for so many years to one day, I really realized at some point, you're going to have to be good enough. You know, you're going to have to be enough. And yeah, mistakes were made. What did you learn from them? Take what you learned, embody that, thank God, and move on. But you can't keep holding on to that. So that's the courageous. That's the part of me where I learned to lead boldly. And I think the final thing I'm going to talk to you about is when we say embracing the pivot. What does that mean? Embracing the pivot basically is...
The meeting is starting at 8:30.
Oh, sorry. Is somebody else on the line? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So embracing the pivot is basically about you're going in this direction. You're going straight ahead. And you know you're going straight ahead. And you are confident about your straight ahead. You got your plan, you got your strategy, you got your goals, you got your SMART goals. You're marching, you know, every day you wake up and you're like, I'm marching on Zion. I know I can do this. I can do this. Whatever your song is. For those of you who have slightly older children, you'll remember Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. You know, whatever song it is, you're singing that song and you're moving forward. And then life starts to life. And it hits you like an 18-wheeled lorry this way. And you're down.
My coach, I am
What
going
do you
to break
do?
into it for me. Because you know,
What do you do?
The chapters of my book.
Sorry, there's somebody whose
to come after
microphone is still on. Can you mute? It says Mumbi. Can you mute? Okay, there we go. So life hits you with a massive lorry coming at you at 200 kilometers. And you just say, stay down. And staying down is sometimes what we need. But then what happens after that? Because you can't just stay down. Life, you've been going in one direction, and now you know you can no longer go. There's no more road. There's no more path. There's no more light. You know how sometimes we move on faith and you just have enough light for the foot in front of you, but you're stepping and it's dark and you realize, I gotta go this way where I see the light. That's what embracing the pivot is about. It's about finding the part of you, the resilience part. It's about getting back to your purpose, your goals, and understanding what is the important fight. Sometimes we get a picture in our minds of how things could look. And those pictures are so dear to us. You know, we've got our vision board of how, whether our mental vision board or our physical vision board of how things should look. And the mistake we make is we don't allow rooms for the what ifs, for magical things to happen. So when things don't happen exactly like we want them to, we lay down and we give up. Embracing the pivot is about, even when you're down there in the dumps, saying, this sucks. This is poop. I hate this. Why me, God? Is understanding it doesn't mean that you can never have the thing you dreamed of, but it just may mean it's gonna look a different way. And sometimes that different way will end up being much better than what you originally set out to do. So when we learn to give ourselves grace, enough grace to make mistakes, give ourselves grace to get back up again and start again and embrace the pivot and take another path where the people say you're too old, to whatever, whether they laugh at you. We heard stories of people going back after 13 years, but you get back up and you say, you know what? I still have some life in me left. So this is not, since I'm awake today, obviously it's not my time to be 6 feet under. So that means I have a chance to embrace the pivot and try and go in a different way and embrace all that life gives, the good and the bad. So that is my very honest talk with you today. A part of me is screaming, I don't believe you did that. But yeah, that's my very honest talk with you today about my chapter and what embracing the pivot means to me and what leadership has been for me. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Dua. That was a powerful presentation. I like the way you changed the whole thing. That's not what we read in the chapter. You've said this is something so new, is an awakening, and every time, I mean, you are just reconnecting with the you, the leader within you, and that was profound. Thank you so much for your story. Thank you for sharing with us that no matter what, we can still rise. It doesn't matter what you have gone through. You've shared with us the losses that you've gone through, the loss of your dad, the loss of your husband, the loss of, I think I had a newspaper, something like that. Thank you so much, because despite all that, you are still breathing. You are here with us, sharing with us an authentic story. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Madam Dua Mutharika in the chat. Yes, thank you so much for sharing your that story with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Wow. It's already 8:15. And we are not yet done. Mr. Dusa Radido, are you still in the house?
Yes, I am in the house.
There is one lady who is swearing and saying you must listen to her speech before you go for your meeting. Is that okay with you?
No problem.
All right. Thank you so much. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome our next speaker, actually our second last speaker. Her name is Mumbi. Just allow me to introduce her before she takes it over. Mumbi promised me she will be done very fast. Mumbi is a born-again Christian saved by grace and a single mother to one son. Oh, sunshine, not just sun, but sunshine. And she calls her Heartbeat. Mumbi is an advocate by profession with 13 years of experience in corporate governance. He is a certified professional mediator, certified integrity assurance officer, certified internal quality auditor. She's also the founder and executive director of Gil Mam Light Consultancy, a firm that consults on corporate governance in Kenya, and board of director, Kenyan chapter of African Center for Energy and Mineral Policy. Mumbi has been with us for many seasons in the book club. Mumbi, this is the time you've been waiting for. Last but not least, here is your chance. Take it away.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
I hope I am able to. Coach, I had sent you this screen so that you're able to assist me to go through it. Are you able to do it on my behalf?
No, just do it, please.
Okay.
Do a slideshow. Slideshow.
That is what I tried to remember today how you do it. I've seen. Okay, I've seen.
Yes, there you are.
Yes.
Go to the first one. Yes.
From the beginning.
Yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Coach. So I'll just say, I'll add just a few things from what Coach has said. I'll just say, other than being what she has said, I'll say I am forever indebted to Coach Lois, and thank God daily of how blessed I am and lucky I am that I get to do life with her and amazing women leaders that I have met on this platform. And I have a quote there that says, in the absence of a challenge, and the women here have been my challenge, there is comfort. So I am not comfortable at all. I have to show up every time. And in the presence of comfort, there is no change. I thank God that there is no change for me because I have these beautiful women who are present today. I will keep facing the challenges head on. That is my promise to them. So I was looking at 3 chapters, chapter 1, chapter 14, and chapter 15. And I'll try to be very fast. I was laughing at myself. You know, the epitome of being a good leader. I have exactly 10 minutes. So you will allow me to do my stopwatch. If 10 minutes end before I end, then I will end my presentation there in the interest of accountability. So I have started my stopwatch. My first chapter, and I said I'm a Christian and I'm born again. So I related that chapter 1 by Emma Mogaka. Oh, amazing writer. And I picked it from Psalms 27:17, that iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. And for this case, because we are women and probably one man, I'm not sure that I've seen all the men, if they're there, thank you very much, is that one woman sharpens another, and that is what we are doing today. I loved what Emma did. And for me, I've been brought up in a family of men only. The only girl, brought up from a very staunch Christian background. And I related to her and I have a twin. I call him my Irish twin. I will not explain what that is in the interest of time. You can go and Google what an Irish twin is. When I'm there and he's there, I'm always where he is, he's always where I am. And the one thing that the writer said is she needed a mentor. I also needed one. And I thank God that in 2021 at my lowest, I met Coach Lois. And then she introduced me to these amazing ladies who have touched and changed my life. I always joke about it, and I've said it before. I have not been transformed. I am transfigured. I look at myself every day and I say, is this me? I am truly a new person. Literally, Mombi the name, but wearing a different body. So I'm still amazed every day. And I have learned to deal with my imposter syndrome. And that's what the writer said, that one of the things that she did was to deal with imposter syndrome that had blurred her image and planted self-doubt. And that has been me, and I related to that. And that picture there shows you what a life coach does. And thank you, Coach Lois. May God continue to bless you and give you more abundance grace to keep touching our lives. The second thing that the writer said was the power of visualizing where you want to go. And I have visualized. And I like what Arnold Schwarzenegger said, create a vision of who you want to be, and then live into that picture as if it were already true. And for those who know me now, I keep saying my actualization is to be Ambassador Mombi. So nowadays, everything I do, everyone I meet, I say Ambassador Mombi Muihuri. And it is not an imposter syndrome, no. I am already an ambassador of Christ. I just want to be an ambassador of Kenya, and it is soon approaching. So keep me in your prayers, ladies. The third thing was investing in yourself. And Robin Sharma, and I think Robin Sharma is that author that Coach Lois introduced us to over and over again, said, the biggest thing, the biggest investment you'd ever do is investing in yourself. It's the best investment you will ever make. And Warren Buffett said, the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. And that is what I have done in the book club. And I appreciate God for giving me this opportunity, because I now know my strengths, I know my blind spots, and I know my triggers. I have invested. If I had not invested in myself through these programs of BWC, then I would not know my strengths and blind spots and triggers. The fourth thing the author said, that you need to surround yourself with people who have a similar journey, if not similar, then the same aspirations. And I can tell you, I have learned as an advocate, you know, advocates have this perception that they know everything. But I've learned I don't know everything. And I'm a product of my experiences in the past. But I'm no longer afraid to call out my struggles. And I have a work plan to improve and get better. And I thank the women of excellence who are here today, and especially the cohort 4 of women of excellence. I thank you for pushing me to beyond my limits. Then she talks about trust the process. And what is a process? Just know where you are. Don't concentrate on the product. If you concentrate on the product and you can see that picture, you will exert so much energy, but love the process. When you love the process, look at that gentleman. He's just seated reading. He's not concerned. All he wants is that product to come down. It's a process. It takes time. It will happen. Don't concentrate so much on getting it fast, quick, the way you want it or how you want it. Just make sure that you invest in something that will make you stay away from the failures and the trigger giving you the self-limiting beliefs I am, and I thank God for this process that I'm going through. The next thing the author talked about is the importance of coaching. And what does coaching do? It gives you leadership development, it gives you personal growth, skills enhancement, and career development. One of the things we have done in the BWC under the able leadership of Coach Lois is we hear amazing stories from women here who have realized, and I've listened to the story of, I hope I got her name, the lady from South Africa. I don't want to pronounce her name wrongly. And I love her vulnerability and her honesty. And that is what this does, coaching under Coach Lois. And I thank you, Coach Lois, because under your leadership, we are able to access, to experience, talk about our experiences, to support others, to learn, and make sure that we mentor. And that takes me to chapter 14. I related to Sonali Shah. And again, I pick as that scripture. For everything that was written in the past, and my past has been ugly, was written to teach us. And for me, it has taught me. So that through the endurance taught in the scriptures and the encouragement from the ladies here, they provide, we might have hope. That I might have hope, and I have hope. And there's a saying there by Piyush Kamal that transformation from mediocrity to excellence requires a soul searching and life-altering incubation. And so long as you remain in BWC, and I know I sound like probably a very interesting fanatic, for sure, this has been an incubation. I've been here since season 4. I think, yes, it is season 4. And I say 12 seasons later, I have no regret. And in that chapter, the first thing she did was to talk about living a life of transformation is the miracle of change within. And if you look at the small part here, for me, I related to it by forgiving myself. And when I joined the book club, it was by accident or coincidence. There's not accident, there are no coincidences with God, they are aligned. And they were talking about who, it was Mr. Tomato, who will cry when I die. And at that moment, I realized, oh my God, I am the one who will cry. If I died that day, thank God I'm alive and we live to 100 and something years if it tarries, is that I am living a transformed life because I have embraced the change within me. And how do I do that? I have confronted the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of myself. I have forgiven myself and I am kind to me. I do my mirror exercises religiously. I stand in the mirror. Right now, I'm doing something about emotional intelligence. Yes, I have acquired it over time, but even if I've acquired it, I have this facial expression. My mouth could be saying something, but it's a constant exercise. Then I have grown and grounded myself in faith and have a relationship with God. For the first time, a month ago, I think I shared in a group, in a program we are doing at the BWC, I have done the New Testament in 1 month, let me say 29 days, that's 9 chapters a day. And I'm currently doing the Old Testament, 9 chapters a day, and that will be completed in 4 months. I trust God for that exercise to be complete. And transformation begins with self-awareness and the willingness to take responsibility for your own life. And I have taken that responsibility. The second one was start changing yourself if you want to change the life around you. And how did Mombi do that? There's a course we did called Unleash the Leader. And because I failed forward, I did it twice. That is, it expected me to peel off the mask, stop living in the avenue of being an advocate and knowing it all and being learned friends and the others are not learned. I don't know how that, whoever came up with that phrase needs to be put to book because it is not true. So I had to peel off that mask and break the eggshell and realize the fact that I am an advocate doesn't mean that I know it all. The next one was a life-changing event. Hers was different. She was a gymnast person. Mine was a broken relationship. I will run through this. Probably I'll have the opportunity to share. But I say this from a broken relationship. But unfortunately, life has its own twists and turns. But I have a new normal to thank God for him. And I have a new year life. And I do it every day by the next one was you can't get different results by doing the same things. And for me, that has been weight loss, self-help, and self-development. And Albert Einstein said, insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. And there was nothing impossible with love and patience. And I thank God the family, the friends and family that I have. I like the quote, I need to live by choice, not by chance, motivated, not motivated, to be useful, not used, to make changes, not excuses, to excel, not compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity.
All right. Are you there, Mumbi? Great. That was an awesome presentation by Mumbi. Thank you so much for taking us through all that. And just hearing you repeat the same things over and over again. I think there's a problem with your network, Mumbi. Ambassador Mumbi.
Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Where did you lose me?
Your network is not good.
I think I had gone almost to the end.
Yes, kindly
Where did you lose
finalize.
me? I'm shaking.
Yes, you've been shaking for the last 2
Okay.
minutes.
So let me just go to
Yes.
the last chapter. I'm sorry. So let me just go to the last chapter. And that was about chapter 15 on unlimited potential. I'm sorry about my network. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Coach, you can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The last chapter, I have skipped so many slides, but so the last chapter was on unlimited potential. And the author, Dr. Bunene, amazing writing. And I guess I'm trying to think, is the writing about the author or is the writing about the people, but it was beautiful. But again, I picked that from a scripture, Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, but at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And the greatest gift we can give as individuals to God, because he knows he has given us unlimited potential, is when we take the gifts that God has given us and use that potential to fulfill ourselves and to get into that self-potential of fulfillment and to do life at your fullest. And what she did, she broke it down in various stages, and she said you have to establish routines and habits. And that's the only way, because Once you adapt a habit, it becomes a ritual, then it becomes a routine, and nothing can break you. So every time you find a beautiful a challenge, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of what I'm doing? Is this working? Should I quit it? And when you have those true questions and conversations, then you're able to have a transformational life. And it is a process. And for me, it has been my VH, my transformation journey and my vision board, where I have to keep checking whether I am living true to my vision board. The second part is about self-awareness. And there's a definition there that I'll not belabor, but it is being conscious of who you are and how you react to situations. And there are two types. There's the internal self-awareness, where you recognize and understand your internal state, your emotions, your preferences, and your thoughts. And then there's the external, understanding how others perceive you. And if you understand how they perceive you, then you're able to navigate the social situations. And as I had said earlier, that is purely done by emotional intelligence and understanding how to react to various situations. The third one was about self-talk. And for me, it has been the self-imposter syndrome. Every time I'm faced with a situation that triggers an experience that I had in my past, then I get into that space. But I have now learned that I have to keep doing positive self-talk. And the examples are the mirror exercise, just getting information of 360 requirement of what people think about me. I check myself, I stay present, and I refer myself to the third person. Then there was the fourth one, self-worth. And I think I'll just concentrate on self-worth is the foundation. It's like, it's the root of a tree. And once you appreciate who you are, find your value internally from within you, be grateful about who you are, then you find yourself, then you build self-esteem, that you're able to appear and present yourself regardless of your fears. And what does that do? The beautiful leaves of self-confidence. And the fifth one was about growth mindset. The only thing in life that is constant is change. And you either have a fixed or a growth mindset. If you have a fixed, you're negative. I can't, I will not, it is not for me, this is not good enough, then you give up. But when you learn from your mistakes, allow feedback, which is valuable, and then you work out from it, you improve yourself and practice. And that is the growth mindset that I am practicing thanks to BWC. And the sixth one was, once you have done all this and you're a complete person, you must give back to society. And the Bible is always clear, just give back. And it shall come back to you multiplied, shaken over. And I'm doing that through a mentorship program that I began last year. And I thank God for that opportunity. And the last one is gratitude. And I will not read the prayer. I had said I'll read for my son, but I will not. And I'm grateful that my lowest downfall was when I got a child out of wedlock, having grown up from a very staunch background. But I have learned to thank God that he's not only a product of my womb, and not only that God knew him and named him and knew that this would be the way to work out. He is my sunshine and my heartbeat, and I thank God about him. And I think that comes to the end of my presentation. And I will leave you with a quote by Maya, that I can be changed by what happens to me. And oh yes, I have been changed by so many things, but I have chosen to fail forward because I refuse to be reduced by it. Thank you very much, Coach.
That is Ambassador Mumbi for you. Rich insights there. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you for your vulnerability. And that's what we are learning throughout this evening, that for you to lead boldly, you have to lead authentically. You have to lead vulnerable. Thank you so much for your powerful stories. Woo! Now it's the time to listen to the man behind this project. Mumbi, you may stop sharing. To the man behind this project, and I thank God it's a man, that this man has a vision for the women. And I want to introduce to you Mr. Duso Radido. Duso Radido, are you in the house? Karibu sana. Tell us about the She Leads project. What was your inspiration?
Well, good evening, ladies. My name is Doso Radido, as has been mentioned. I'm so proud. I'm so proud of this day because for the first time I get an opportunity to experience how it feels when it gets down to how the materials are impacting people and how, you know, some of you are getting strengthened, woken up. I really like Mercy and what she was saying about how she was woken up, and the lady who spoke before her, quite amazing. And I like it. I really like it. I'm just going to give us a very brief background about this, about the She Leads project, because there's a project called She Leads, whose one of those products is a book that has been read in this club, so that we get an understanding of why do we even have that book out here, and why are we even talking, so that it helps us. So I work with Zaunfall Publishers as the operations director, and one of the brains behind the She Leads project. When we were about to start this project, we were concerned about a number of things. And actually, this concern came from the conversation that has been ongoing about women, their position in society, their involvement in the issues of life, and one of which is leadership. Leadership is one of the biggest issue of life, in my opinion. And when we talked about that, we came down to the position of the African woman, and the African woman has not had a very easy time in the world since I started knowing stuff about her. It's been a fight. It's been a struggle. It's been push and pull. Yet God has given us so much grace to be able to contribute very useful value in our lives. But she has not really explored her full potential. In my estimation, I think we have buried a lot of her resource. And I'm talking about what has happened up to now. I know there are some of you who have been enlightened and have woken up and are doing something, but you represent a very small percentage. There are still so many more women out here who live through life not knowing themselves, not knowing what they can do, not knowing the value they're supposed to bring, not knowing that they came to add beautiful color and texture to life, and then that resource gets buried. The most unfortunate thing is that it ends in the grave, and when it goes there, it's very difficult to recover it. So when the project was being started, we were concerned about a number of issues, which is what is going to form the basis of my presentation now. Our concern was what is the position of the woman, and are we tapping into her resourcefulness to power the experiences of our lives, to power the growth that we aspire for ourselves, to even aspire to even power the quality of life that we aspire for ourselves. And of course, based on the studies that have been done, the experiences that we've had, there is a huge untapped potential that remains within women and that has gone unutilized or underutilized for many, many years. And so we were asking the question, what exactly is happening? What is causing this? And that is a very important question, because when we understand the questions, the root of the problem, then it's going to be easy for us to begin to even figure out interventions and even move in the direction that can help us be able to shift things and hopefully rewrite the script completely and settle some matters completely once and for all. So the points I'm going to share with you are basically touching on the African woman and what has happened so far and what we think are the critical gaps that we need to address and hopefully create platforms around those ones that can help us move in the right direction, which is actually the spirit behind why that book was even written, among several other titles that have been done in that category, which we are very proud of. So the first gap we are seeing here is the literature gap. The literature gap here specifically talks about, is there any documented material that paints a picture of who she is, what she knows, what she does, what she is capable of doing, what she wants, what she aspires to do, the things that excite her and the things that pain her. And you realize that there is not so much information about that. And we come from a very disadvantaged place because the African society passed her wisdom and her knowledge verbally, which worked at some point, but you realize that it has a huge disadvantage to do it that way if we don't complement that with documentation. So the literature gap therefore speaks about the lack or the huge gaps and spaces that exist around the African woman and what she knows and what she can do. Number two, we were concerned about what interventions are we coming up with to try and address some of the challenges that she is facing. Now, if you have been in Africa, you know that a lot of what is served for women is prescribed by non-women people, and a lot of times it does not pick the nitty-gritties of what really matters for them. For example, in Kenya, there is a law called the 2/3 gender rule, which was discussed in the Kenyan parliament. The majority of people who were discussing that were men, and it was a discussion that was brought to life through agitation. So it felt like, let's do something so that these women can stop making noise. So in my opinion, it has very, very strong elements of just quiet the noises and let them go. So they came up with something called the 2/3 gender rule. The 2/3 gender rule is beautiful in letter and spirit, but the implementation of it is flawed because a lot of times we think that 2/3 means men and 1/3 means women. And many organizations that have achieved 1/3 women representation and 2/3 men, they really clap for themselves and they feel like they have really achieved something. But if you look at that going forward, it means that there is no single time women will rise above that, and there's no single time their voices will either be equal in terms of power and strength or anything, because they're always coming from a disadvantaged fraction. So the implementation of that thing is flawed, and there is need for us to interrogate it, and beyond that, come up with interventions that are able to help us really fix the problem and tap into this resource. And as I speak about this, I am not interested in pitting women against men. I'm just interested in the resource that they bring to life and how best we can use that to power our growth and to power our progress and move in the positive direction. One of those interventions that I think should be happening, and I'm glad that it is happening even in this forum, is having what I call strategic conversations. I've listened to all of you. I've listened to the depth of your thoughts and the things that you're concerned about on how you're presenting it. And I know for sure, if we talk like this 60 years ago, 100 years ago, today we would have a completely different experience of the woman, African woman leader. But because these things did start happening a long time ago, now we have to start doing that. And those are some of the interventions that have to be done. The conversations have to be honest, they have to be bold, they have to be targeted, they have to be timely, and they have to involve all of us. Because if we don't involve all of us, especially the women, then the few of us who know it and who are applying it will rise. And then the rest of the people will remain behind. It does not give you a lot of good success if you are the only person who is succeeding. There has to be a critical mass of people who are succeeding together with you so that they can help you build that momentum and even cushion the realities of your success and hopefully create a new reality, because now it becomes a communal experience that shifts everybody's mind and changes how things are happening. The other gap that we saw was the visibility gap, the question of where are the women In a society that is male dominated, you're most likely to see more men talking, more men initiating, more men leading, more men doing this and doing that, until you think women don't exist. And in our space here, sometimes when appointments are being done, the question is always asked, where are the women? It doesn't mean that women are not there, because according to numbers, we have more women in our midst than men. So the question where the women should not actually be asked at any given point. But it is being asked because the women have not been visible enough, so that they seem to be available, or they seem to be competent, or they seem to be willing enough to take on those responsibilities or those opportunities. And because of that, we tend to have more men getting those opportunities, being considered for those opportunities, etc. So there is need for us to spotlight women, to shine a spotlight on women, to showcase those exceptional women leaders, capable women leaders who are doing it, and are doing it very, very well, so that through a book like that, you will now be forced to know them. Because when you read that book, I know you went and checked who is Bonanu, who is Alima, who is Dua, who is Kausar, because they are all out here. If we had not spotlighted them, you would never have interacted with their wisdom. You'd never have interacted with their lessons, their recommendations. You would never have known them. And we are happy that from that, now they are becoming role models. They're becoming influencers. They're influencing people in a positive direction. And we must continue doing that up to a place where the question, where are the women, is completely settled. It becomes irrelevant. And nobody should ever ask that question again, because we will have demonstrated and have actually spotlighted enough of them to be able to completely address that issue. Number 4, the other gap we wanted to deal with is the issue of amplification of voices. We know from my experience, I know women are wise, women are knowledgeable, women are experienced. But if we don't amplify their voices, then the world will think that they know nothing, that there is no experience at all, that we should not even pay attention to them. Now, when we publish their thoughts in books, we have amplified their voices. And because of that alone, now we have platforms like these ones happening, where we can even hear their voices even more. And I want to thank Coach Lois for ensuring that you bring some of those authors into this forum, so that their voices can be heard, because it may be, somebody may think these are just books and there is nobody behind it. But I like the fact that you brought the voices behind the literature. You gave people an opportunity to interact with that wisdom and actually learn that there has been new developments even from the time the book was published. And that book is not even old. We published it, we released it in February, and one of the authors is saying now she has freshness, she has newness and new insights, and I love that, which is a very beautiful thing. So there is need for us to create platforms to amplify the voices of women and also amplify the issues that concern them. If we don't talk about where the shoe is pinching and we make noise about that, nobody will know that the shoe is pinching. So we have to make all the noise. We have to make all the noise and make sure that we have amplified enough in a way that the society will be aware of what's going on. People will know about their wisdom. People will know where they are found. People will know what they are doing. People will know what they are aspiring. And that is our work. We have to create platforms and amplify their voices until we are able to settle that matter once and for all. Then there is a practice gap. The practice gap basically looks at the way leadership is being practiced. In many spaces, even where women have been given an opportunity to lead, the quality of authority they exercise cannot be compared to the quality of authority that men are exercising. So that even if you have balanced the numbers quantitatively, you still have gaps about the qualitative side of issues. For example, if you have 5 men and 5 women on a board, and then you attend one of those board meetings and see how they're dispensing their power, you'll realize that men are still wielding a lot more authority and a lot more power than the women, and we need to fix that. So that beyond numbers, now we begin to ask questions that touch on qualitative issues of the practice of leadership. And that would need that we do a lot of work in shifting paradigms, changing perspectives, and creating a new, better, and proper understanding about what it means to be a leader and a woman leader. And that is our work. And conversations like these ones must always help us to shift the minds of people. And I desire that another time we have a forum like this, we have a lot more men attending, so that you sit and listen and actually know that wisdom is here, and it's beautiful, and it's something that we can work with. Beyond that, we have to look at how leadership is being executed, because it is one thing to shout and another thing to do. From my experience, I think a lot of us are either culturally biased, or we lean so much on our cultural orientation when we go out to execute on issues of leadership. And we need to know how to not be biasly influenced by culture in a way that we deny women an opportunity to exercise leadership and to really deliver what they have to deliver. And of course, beyond that, we also have to look at policies and regulations that guide and support the practice of leadership. Because if we have problem policies and problem regulations, we will always have problem practice or problem execution. So we must not assume that it will happen. Some of the things we want to see happening must be supported by very strong policies, very strong regulations, and of course we have to have very strong people helping in the execution. So that's a very important thing. The other gap we hope to address with this project is what we call the role model gap. The role model gap basically means we need to raise enough of you successful women leaders as role models, so that when somebody is looking at identifying somebody they can learn from, they don't need to travel to the West or to the East to find a role model. They can find that in Dua, they can find that in Lois, they can find that in Mary, or they can find that in somebody who is just around here. The reason why that is very important is because people who are succeeding within our environment and within our context have a better understanding and appreciation of the dynamics. And therefore, if they mentor you or they become your role model, you are likely to get useful tips and useful navigational strategies that can help you succeed within that particular environment. So there is need for us to raise enough role models to show women that, hey, this one made it and she came from your village. This one is making it. She's in your organization. This one is making it. She went to the same school with you. This one is making it. She did the same course like you did, or something like that. So that we can begin to influence the minds of the aspiring women leaders, or even the minds of those who are already doing well but are desiring to become better, by positioning those role models in a powerful and convincing way, so that it can help where help is needed. And sometimes having the right role models in an environment is what wakes people up. And that waking up for me is one of the most important things that must happen to all our people, because we have so many people who are living through life asleep. They are not awake. They are not aware of what's going on. Sometimes just raising a voice that looks like the people themselves would make them feel like, if this person has made it, I think I can also make it, because that's a very important thing. The other important gap that we must address is the capacity building gap. Basically, this one looks at the leadership capacity building processes. And we are hoping that through this project, we can be able to influence the capacity building processes that goes into women, so that when we are building them as leaders, we don't fashion them to be masculine to be masculine women. We want them to be feminine leaders, to bring the uniqueness of who they are into leadership, without feeling like they have to be a man to be a leader. Because for a long time, the reference point for leadership has always been male and man. And if you look at people who entered leadership earlier on, especially women, they were changing or picking traits that are masculine. And if you try to mix that up with them, then they are not bringing their authentic selves onto the environment. So there's need for us to be able to influence leadership capacity building in a way that it embraces the realities on the ground, and it injects the understanding of the uniqueness and the capability of women, so that we can actually feel the real contribution of women within our space. Because in my opinion, women are supposed to complement men. They are not supposed to compete. They're not supposed to do what men do. They're just supposed to bring their uniqueness onto the table and complement what is going on there. And if they can do better than the men, they should be allowed, supported, and celebrated, because that is what we need. The other important gap we were trying to address in this project is what we call the inspiration gap. And in this, we wanted to create platforms and products that would challenge, inspire, and empower women to rise and take on opportunities for leadership and growth. And from the presentation that have been done today, I am sure this is happening because some of you have actually confessed that you're being inspired, you're being motivated, you're being challenged, you're being provoked, you're being triggered and woken up. And that is what needs to be done, especially if you hear from the voices of the people who are within our space, some of whom you know, and some of whom you can actually just see how they look like and even look for them if you want to connect with them. We need a lot more people to be set on fire because life looks different when people catch their fire. If women will live within our midst without catching fire, then there is no good thing that is going to come out of them. Everybody must be set ablaze. Everybody must be burning for something, because that is when the real juice of life comes out. And that is our work, to inspire, to challenge, to motivate, to wake people up, to trigger them, to provoke them. And that has to continue. So if the book is already provoking some of you, I'm a very proud person because it is actually achieving the purpose we intended for it. And that inspiration should help women to know that they are capable, they can do it, to wake up to their potential, to their purposes, and to their opportunities. And also to be able to realize that they are here to bring value. So all those are the gaps that we are concerned about. Our target is to reach about 10,000 women leaders. And so far we are doing a good job. We are still talking to so many of them because what you have in that volume right now is that insights from about 50 to 18 women. There are many other people who have never written something, have very useful experiences and very powerful lessons, but nobody knows about that because it has not been documented. And how we did it, we allowed them to share a little bit of what they know in a volume that brings many voices together, so that somebody that does not say, I don't have enough content to write a whole book by myself. We just give people a small opportunity for an article to present their wisdom, and then you collect that wisdom together, it becomes a book, and then it goes out there and it serves the world. Some of the things that come out of this project, of course, are books. Others are conversations like this one. Actually, this is a conversation that is, of course, it's an offshoot of the main conversations because Lois, as a leader, of course, doing what she's doing, was able to create this and it's happening. But these conversations are very important. As I said earlier, if we keep talking like we are talking, we are changing things because we are changing minds, we're changing perspectives, and that is how we change behaviors and practice, and hopefully we will change the environment that we are living in. By the time this project is completely done, we want to settle some matters once and for all. One of them is, where are the women? We want to make this question irrelevant after a while so that nobody ever imagines that they are not seeing women unless they refuse to see, because we will have shine a spotlight on them, we will have talked about them, we will have talked about their wisdom, we will have published their knowledge, we will have talked about the businesses they are doing, the achievements they have made. Where are the women should be a question that we are settling once and for all and making it completely irrelevant. Number two, the question, can women lead, or what can they do? Those two questions, we should completely make it irrelevant by demonstrating from the experiences of those who we are featuring that these women are actually capable, they can lead, they are doing it. Number three, what do women know? That question should be settled once and for all. We should bury it, because by the books, you should actually see what women know. You should actually feel that they are wise, they are knowledgeable, they know how to think, they know what they are saying, they know how to speak, they know how to present their issues, and that they have issues that concern them. Number four, which is the last issue that we want to settle once and for all. Where are the books that talk about the women within our space? That question should be settled, because after a while, we will have so many books out here that have all these stories, so that it will not be difficult for any of you to find a leadership book with insights from an African woman leader. So the essence of this project is to shift to shift the reality of things and move the needle in the right direction, so that we have a better appreciation of women, we have a better embrace of what they can do, and we use and tap into their resources to power ourselves into a better society, into better results, and hopefully a better future. So as I finish, if you know you are a woman leader, you have never written anything, and you're wise, you have the experience, and you would love to be featured in a project like this, you want to be read, or you want to be to influence other people through the wisdom that you have, please feel free to reach us, and then we will show you how we can do that, because it will be so nice to have some of your voices in the books. I listen to some of you and I wonder, how come I never known this one? Would have featured her in a book so that her wisdom can be published and help millions of other people. And the reason why I am particularly passionate about this project is because these books will not die anytime soon. I am assuring you, if you wake up from wherever you will be 100 years from now to come back to life, you check, you'll find the books around. We are probably going to be influencing 3 or even 4 other generations coming ahead of time. And that makes it very, very powerful. There is no time they will say there is nothing good that can come out of Africa, or there is nothing good that can come out of an African woman leader. That issue will be settled once and for all. So ladies, for the few minutes that you have given me, allow me to thank you so very much. And also thank you for bringing your wisdom into the meeting and being useful people that are helping us to build momentum in the right direction. I pray that God blesses you and you have yourself a good evening wherever you are. Thank you. I'm sorry, you're muted, Lois.
Thank you so much, Mr. Duso. That was insightful. I'm sure the ladies are like, when am I writing my next book? Here is your opportunity, ladies. You've heard from Mr. Duso that is out there to reach millions and millions of us. Ladies, let your voice be heard. Reach out to Mr. Radido. Mumbi is one of them. I'm sure she's coming very soon. She's writing her book very soon, and you're going to publish it for her. So all the others, thank you so much for staying throughout this conversation. This is not the last. We still have a WhatsApp group for She Leads coaching conversations. So we'll take this conversation there. We shall handle a topic by topic, and we'll have speakers. You are the speakers, people who have bought the book and are reading the stories. So if you have not gotten the book, I have enough copies for you. Reach out. You will have the book and join the conversations, because it is She Leads. We are leading. There is the number for Mr. Duso. There is his email. Get in touch. Let us hear your voice. Thank you so much for staying on. I can't believe it is past 9 here in Kenya. I have people from Uganda here. I've seen others from Malawi, others from South Africa, others from I don't know where. I mean, you are all from all over Africa. This is the voice of Africa. Join us. Let us do this together. You cannot rise alone. We must rise, all of us. So thank you so much. Those who joined late, you'll be able to get the recording later. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much, our guest speaker, Dua Mutharika. Thank you so much, Mr. Duso Radido, and thank you all the book club members who have spoken this evening. Have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Nice to see you, Adeng. Karibu sana. Thank you so much. Atupele, welcome. Fabian, thank you for joining us.